Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. So, before I get into this video, I'd like to ask you all to please leave a like or comment on my video. Consider subscribing to my channel, and if you don't like the video, leave a dislike and a comment saying where I've gone wrong. Now, I'm going to go a little bit further into building videos. So, this is the special builds that I've been wanting to do for a while. However, I haven't done enough research to have them 100% as best builds. So, these are just going to be random support builds. So I'm going to call them random support builds, even though we're close to being able to master these vessels. Sorry. Okay, so the first vessel that we're going through is the Osprey cruiser. Now let's look at what the Osprey has to offer. One drone slot, four weapon slots, two mid slots, and four low slots. However, it does have an advantage of three weapon based slots and three engineering based slots. Now, I did say weapon based, but it's basically your either defense or offense. You get to choose where you're going to push your development into the ship. Now, overall, in the terms of support vessels, this is one of the first few. It is a T7 ship, so it's only open for you at T7. And another thing for you to note is to look at where its benefits come into play. Now, first of all, let's look at the top. Remote shield booster optimal range. So, your remote shield booster, the first fitting that you're going to put onto your weapon slot, obviously is going to be a remote shield booster in this case because it's a shield boosting vessel. And it gives you an additional 200% range. Now, when we go into this support, you're going to see the difference that this has on a major part for the ship. The next is group shield booster effective range. Now, a group shield booster is a second slot, not second, it's a mid slot attachment, and it's going to be one of the more effective attachments for you to use on this vessel. And last but not least, in this primary role bonus, is 100% group transmitter effective range. Now, this is one of the more dangerous ones to interfere with. The group transmitter allows you to boost everybody's transmitters to give them more energy to fire or last in a battle a little bit longer. Now, overall, all of these functions are very, very energy draining. And considering that they drain in about 10 to 20 seconds in the figures of 3 to 600 gigajoules from your capacitor, you're going to need a very large capacitor, and your recharge speed on this vessel has to be very high. Now, going on, let's look at the advanced shield operation. Remote shield booster activation time minus 5%, remote shield booster capacitor need minus 10%. So it is going to reduce its requirement on the vessel, and this is where things are going to become better. That minus 5% on activation time means that it's going to be able to recharge faster and you're going to be able to use it more often. And going down, let's see what's the next one. Advanced. Okay, and these are per shield operation bonus per level and cruiser command bonus per level. That's going to give you 50% capacitor transmitter optional range. Okay, remote capacitor transmitter transmission effectiveness plus 20%. Actually, that's a very good one because it's only about 33% effective by default. Now, let's look at the basics on the ship. The first thing we're going to look at here is capacitor size. And the capacitor on the ship is a whopping 4,517 gigajoules. Now, even though it is as large as some of the battle cruisers, this is still tiny for a support ship. Support ships are going to run somewhere in the need of about 10,000 gigajoules in every 2 minutes. That tells you just how important they are in terms of battle. So let's go through and look at it individually on how it's broken down. Now, even though the ship is broken down into separate parts, you can see that this ship is more for shield operation. And as such, you're going to boost its shield over the other aspects of this vessel. Okay, and looking at it, you can see that it has a pretty good structure base. It has a very strong shield. Considering it's a Kaldari vessel, this is quite standard. It has a very large cargo hold because you can use it to pick up cargo in the vessel because it's not really going to be a fighter. Then let's look at its capacity. 22.41 gigajoules per second. Not even going to count. It is going to be so low compared to its energy need that this ship is going to be dry before you even have a chance to recharge at 500 seconds. Even with all the recharging that it's doing, you're going to drain it so quickly you're going to wonder what in the world happened to this vessel. Now let's go down. Signature radius. Okay, not really important on it. The target lock isn't so important. This is going to be running in your fleet. Remember, you're going to run glass cannons behind you at quite a distance away from the fight. That is the general idea. And they are going to be responsible for keeping those glass cannons alive in the case of anybody breaking through your formation. Your tanks are going to be up front. Your debuffs are going to be up front. You're going to be running those four in the front line. Mid line is the support, which is going to be your Ospreys and the other vessels in this class as I go through them. And falling behind them is a general attack vessel. So a vessel with a nice solid attack. You can hit any ship that comes too close. And following behind them is going to be a little bit more of a powerful, heavy range, heavy hitting vessel. That's your glass cannons. So let's go on and look at the more important parts. As you can see, this here has a faster warp speed than the other cruisers. It's also quite fast in terms of how fast it moves just naturally. So what are the low slot allocations on this vessel going to be? As I said, 4,500 gigajoules on this ship isn't enough, and I will show you why in a second. Now let's talk about what we're going to fit it up with. Now let's go straight to the low slots. Okay, as was explained, this has more of a shield factor for improvement. So just bear with me as I go through this. The first thing you need to consider is your battery. Now, why am I going straight for a battery? Because this ship needs excess power. It needs it so badly, it's not even a joke. And looking at what this battery gives, 683 gigajoules. It may not be the best, but it is definitely going to help the ship. It's going to lose quite a bit of power on its small power grid, but it is going to help you overall. So installing this immediately, it is going to improve your ship. Additional upon activation is 1093 gigajoules, 25 seconds, 60-second delay on each recharge. And what is the price on this? Okay, it's under 20 million. Everything for the ship is under 20 million in terms of its general fittings. Now keep a very close mental note on how much of power you are using from the vessel, because those 83 gigajoules is going to come into play in the next thing that you're putting into the ship. An afterburner. Remember, this is very close to the front of the battle. It's going to need to run away. And you're going to notice that I am just going straight for everything on the higher end. Now, the moment we put on the C-type booster, 153% speed, and here is something very important to look at. Once again, 15 megawatts. Now, let's just estimate the previous one at 85 and add 15 together. That's 100 megawatts out of its 450 megawatts gone. That means we have 350 left to choose our next fittings. So moving back up, let's go to shield booster. These are the two which you are going to run on this ship regardless of anything else. You are going to run a shield hardener. This is a little bit more of a risk when it comes to this vessel. The shield hardener might not help you at all. Okay, and looking at its power requirement, 1 megawatt, we throw it into the first three, it's not really going to affect us. So we're getting away with a little bit here, but this isn't a getaway. We actually still very much on the back foot. And let's go to booster. Now this is where we're going to lose a ton of power, and this is where everything is going to start piling up on us in terms of where we are. Here it is, 55 megawatts. Immediately we are now at 300 megawatts left to distribute to the rest of the system, and we already know what's going on to the rest of the system. So let's jump up into the next slot, the mid slot. Now there's a reason why I'm pulling it up from mid to high. It's because I want you to see where all your energy is, and you need to make these calculations very carefully when setting up this vessel. And remember those megawatt drains that you were seeing in the, the gigajoule drains? You need to be mentally adding them up as well. So let's continue down. And this one here works well with remote transmitters. So let's go for a medium remote transmitter. This is going to be a faction remote transmitter, might get type C in the later part of the game, 50 megawatts. We are now down to 250 with 5 slots left to go on this vessel. And going down, we can do group shield booster. Yeah, we can do a group shield booster. Let's see what it has. One megawatt, not that much of a worry to us, but it does have a considerable gigajoule drain. You're going to run this in that mid because of what you're going to run on the top. Now, the moment this is in, you're now thinking that you're safe, but you aren't safe yet. This is just to give you that little field of effect. Remember, the group shield this repair only works in a small radius. And remember, it may be boosted by 100% on this vessel. No, wait, this is 50%. So you're only getting 18 kilometers. Anything close to you within 18 kilometers is boosted by you directly. And this is where ranges are also pulled in. Your range is actually pulled into consideration. And you are thinking about it right now on your head, keeping it all together. We are at 150 megajoules already consumed. We had 400 megajoules already consumed. Not 400, 200. We have 250 to go. And we now enter into the high slot. And you go straight down to remote shield. Now this is where things start to pile on very, very quick. And you need to look at the amounts that you are losing immediately in your head, working it out. 29 megawatts. So let's say that we put 1, 2, 3, 4 on a ship. That's 4 times 30, 120 megawatts. We're almost maxed out this vessel's power, and we're at 120 megawatts out of that 250 that was left to us. Now, is this the total drain on our ship? No. We still have to think about the energy activation costs on all of these, and their running time, and how quickly they're going to drain through energy. So once every 6 seconds, it goes through 196 gigajoules. With the reduction in time activation, count it as 5 seconds and count the gigajoules, even though with the reduction of 10%, count it as 200. So 200 every 10 seconds, that means for every one of these weapons, 400 every 10 seconds, it does 4,000 gigajoules every minute. Now, not every minute, sorry, there was a mistake. It's 4 times 6, 2,400 every minute. And you have 4 of these. So you have to be very careful to activate and deactivate these only when needed. Remember, they give you a considerable boost to recharging somebody else's shield, but activating them all at once will drain you so fast in your power, you won't even last 2 minutes. So we've just gone through the basics. You've seen where everything is in terms of your fittings. Now, this is as a request was made to me by another person on a video. This video is just going to contain all of this. Now, let's think about our low slots. This vessel isn't made for fighting. It's not running any weapons on it. Now, I said you're going to run 4 shield boosters, 4 shield transmitting boosters. That's because that's your primary function. And the more you have, the better for you. You can recover somebody a lot more shield if you are using this in the close range. And wait, one last thing. Remember, it has 200% range effectiveness. That's 7.5 times 2. That's going to give you... Okay, effectiveness is time plus 200%. 21 kilometers. So at 20 kilometers away from the front line, you can use this. You're 40 k's away from the front enemies. That's more than enough space for you to get away. And you don't have to be any closer to the enemies. You can use an approach and stop at 20. Now, you can set approach. I have done it once or twice, but it is a very laggy function. It sometimes doesn't obey and it starts twisting you into an orbit at the 20 kilometers, taking you closer to the enemies. You need to make sure you don't do this, so pull yourself on multiple allies and keep switching your positioning so that you don't get into the front of the fight. Now, in consideration that you aren't really fighting enemies, that means anytime they're putting you in a fleet when you're fighting in Dead Space or any of the Inquisitors or Scouts, you'll have to share equal rewards, because sharing it any other way is unfair on the support vessels. And considering how big the range is that you're getting from them, a couple of kilometers, and the amount of drain that they have, that is the best thing to do. Now let's go back to the ship and let's look at it once more. Now I'm not going to go through the rigs. The rigs are a bit confusing and I lose my way in saying which one is which. So let's get into the rigs that follow up onto the ship. Your combat rigs are all going to be defensive. You are running full shield rigs on this. So you are going to boost your shield. You are going to reduce the recommendation on the shield booster, and if I'm correct, this is one of those ships where you're going to use one of those four at the bottom. I would suggest an EM boost to your shield, so an EM boosting rig on this vessel. That one there can change. It could be better to use something else on this vessel. Extenders won't work very well on this vessel, but something else might fill in that void quite easily. Now your low rig. 1 for speed. Remember, you might need to speed tank a little bit. It is part of the possibility for you. A lot of players are going to aim at you because they know you're running support. So immediately afterburner and a velocity rig that leaves you with 25% extra power to your capacitor and a faster recharge time. And you are going to run this at the most optimal you can find. Everything on the ship should be as high as possible. If you can spend $1 billion for fitting for this vessel's rigs, spend $1 billion and get it. Because at the end of the day, those high-end rigs are going to play a massive part in this ship. Okay, now I have explained the build. These builds are going to be a little bit more extensive. As you can see, trying to describe it is a bit heavier. One of the reasons why I've been doing the shorter format videos. And I have explained the basics on the build. However, I haven't gone through all of these in depth. And the reason for it is simple. There isn't really much to do in terms of the in-depth. And just showing you why this has now become a very good idea is because of engineering. This vessel needs you to master and complete expert engineering. Command, not so important. Target management, it works a little bit with it, but engineering is its primary. Everything else doesn't really play as big a part as engineering on this vessel. This vessel needs every bit of power that you can give it. And as I'm just going to show you here, sorry. No, it's not what I need. I'm just going to show you. Going all the way down. At level 5, it gives you 15% extra capacitor. Power grid is plus 15%, and warp capacitor drain is minus 30%. This may not seem like a lot to you, but 15% on 4000 is a couple hundred extra. That's another shield boost that you can activate. And once your capacitor drops below 25%, you can't boost anybody else. And you have to switch off all your boosting and consider keeping the energy to keep your ship afloat. Because if you run out of power, you can't defend yourself at all. You are only meant to support others. So 25% is your cutoff on your capacitor. You need to make sure that you don't go below that so that you can keep your hardener and your booster on to keep you rotating at the right speeds and the right location in orbit. So that is the first of the builds on support vessels. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Have a good day.